Have your attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Turning a Moment into a Movement. I am J Love. Thank you for joining me. I represent the Justice for Gerard movement. Gerard is my son who was wrongfully incarcerated for a crime that he didn't do. Innocent, went to prison for 2 years, wrongfully convicted. So because of that journey with Gerard, I created the Justice for Gerard movement, and that birthed this movement, turning a moment into a movement, where we come here every Friday and talk about wrongful convictions and just injustice. We come here to educate the community and to share our knowledge with you, and also resources and things to help you and the community and your loved ones. So thank you for joining us. This has been a heavy week. So much has been going on with the Julius Jones. That was a lot. And even today with, what's his name? Kyle Rittenhouse, a lot. So we're going to just talk amongst ourselves and really have a conversation about injustice, because injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I'm going to bring on the panel and let them introduce themselves to you, and then we're going to keep it going. So, hi, Reverend Tia.
Well, hello, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Jay. Thank you so much for the Justice for Gerard movement. Thank you for turning a moment into a movement, and I'm here coming on the platform because my call is to educate, motivate, and encourage people to access that power within themselves. And so I have a company called the Choice Zone, and helping people get in position, get into their zone. And I started thinking today that it's so important to understand that sometimes your call is coming out of, many times it's coming out of something that you probably didn't want to choose.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pathway. It's not like you wanted to go through this journey, but yet you answered the call. And so many times people have gone through different situations, and if they didn't get the encouragement, they didn't understand that right now it's time for your call to stand up for what is right. And when you're standing up for what is right, you're answering the call. Yes, I am a minister, of course, over at Transform and Love Community. I'm a behaviorist out at Washtenaw, using my social worker skills. I stand on other networks for social justice, trying to create change in Michigan and in the Flint area, assisting the Bishop Bernie Joe Jefferson, who's the commissioner of Flint. So what I'm here, though, most importantly, so that I can stand as guard prayerfully, through prayer and through support and through speaking out,
Mm-hmm.
and encouraging people to utilize that power that they have within themselves, and not to settle for anything less, because we have God within us.
Right.
And we have power. We have power. And it's time for us to use it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I see Attorney Hugo Mack is here. Hello.
Yay.
Hi, Attorney
Hello, my
Hugo
sisters,
Mack.
my sisters. Hey, well, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. See, now we gonna keep it going. Now we're gonna keep it going. So look,
Right.
I I want to say thank you for having the forum here for us, J Love, our leader, and I want to thank my sister, Reverend soon to be Doctor Little John.
Yeah.
Here and you know who I am. You know who I am. You know my name. So, but for those who don't, Attorney Hugo J. Mack, primarily a criminal defense attorney, but more so a defender of the Constitution than anything else. Former candidate for Washington County prosecutor, because we need to make a change in the system. We need to have people in positions of authority that have a humanity, a sense of justice, an understanding about systemic racism. And we don't have to be colorblind, but we do have to be color brave. So that was one of my platforms, and I'm proud to have run a person with a criminal justice background. That's exactly the kind of person you need in those positions. One of the
Mhm.
greatest mistakes the Department of Corrections ever made was stopping former inmates from working as guards and administrators within the prison. They thought they was pandering to, I must say, a strain of white supremacy, but all they've done is make the streets less safe. Because when you punish somebody beyond measure, you are not making yourself safe. You're just living in a fool's paradise, is what you're doing. Because
Mhm.
most people in prison are there for something they've done. There's no question about that. Everybody in the penitentiary is not innocent. Everybody in the penitentiary has not been overcharged. My position has been we have far too many people in the penitentiary that are innocent and that are overcharged and are there because of systemic racism that goes from the police, the prosecutors, the jury, the legislatures, the parole board, up to the governor themselves, regardless of what party they're in. Don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you. There are underlying forces that affect all of them. So when we talk about re-electing Democrats, more so we should than Republicans, by and large. But don't think because somebody got a D behind their name that they hold the key to savior for Black, brown, indigenous peoples. That is absolutely not true. Not true. So in any event, I'm proud to be here. Uh, HMAClaw.com is your hookup. HMAClaw.com is your hookup. HMAClaw.com is your hookup. If failure is not an option, well, J Love, they know how to reach me.
Exactly. www.hmatlaw.com.
That's your hookup.
Yeah, that's your hookup. Thank you, Attorney Hugo back. So
All
I'm going to
right.
bring on our guest right now. Not really a guest, but you're like your family.
Good evening. Good evening.
Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Joining this platform with these distinguished guests, both of them whom I met before. Glad to be in their presence. My name is Hakeem Crampton. I am a wrongly convicted individual. I spent 15 years in Wisconsin Department of Corrections for a homicide I had absolutely no involvement in. And actually, I've been out now for 15 years on parole still for that same wrongful conviction. So my current wrongful conviction is still continuing. So it's been 30 years that I've been wrongly convicted from the state of Wisconsin. I've been fortunate and blessed to be out on parole here back home in the state of Michigan on what's called an interstate compact. The Innocence Project was able to get me released, but just not through the courts. They was able to work with the then parole chairman, Mr. Leonard Wells, to broker my release, essentially, to get me released on parole as a result of being innocent. And so here I am 15 years later, been fighting in our communities as education advocate, juvenile justice advocate, community agitator, right? A community agitator, using my voice, using my words, using my passion to agitate change in our community, to inspire the next generation of young people to know that they have the power and the courage, the voice to stand up and fight for their community in spite of the odds that are against them. So I've been fortunate and blessed during these years to be out, to be positioned to use my voice in a powerful way. And as you know, Jay, just 2 years ago in 2019, Governor Gretchen Whitmer appointed me to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission as a commissioner to a 4-year term, making me therefore the first formerly incarcerated person ever appointed to a state commission. And this commission is an important commission, the Indigent Defense Commission, where I fit with a very powerful voice, mind you, a very powerful voting voice on this commission. And our responsibility is to assure that every county in the state of Michigan comes into compliance with meeting the state's minimum state standards for providing indigency defense for anyone in the state of Michigan who is eligible for indigent, who is eligible to be represented upon being charged or accused of a crime. And what has happened in the state of Michigan for far too long is that lack of representation is pretty much one of the beginning stages of a route through the criminal court system that is biased and racist and prejudiced. And it's going to take at the forefront of that to really change that within inside the core of it. So that's why we got people like Hugo Mack, right? That is attorneys that are in the inside of the system able to fight for us, and that's why you got me now on the commission able to fight and give crucial voice to a part of the system that we have always been neglected from. We've never had a seat at the table. But even so, for the few that have ever gotten a seat, it ain't just important just to have a seat. We want to be able to have a voice, right? And so while I'm at the seat at the table, now I've been just recently given a voice. So I've been appointed to the chair of the new equity commission. On that commission, we're going to create policies and practices around how public defender offices in the state of Michigan hires, right? So I'm going to be chairing that, and that's a powerful position to be in, to make sure the public defenders around this state are hired with equity as the forefront, right? So that's a brief introduction to who I am.
Wow. That's awesome. You're pretty awesome, Hakeem. Oh my goodness. Was you gonna say something?
I've had the pleasure to meet Hakeem, and I'm proud to be in the fight with you, brother. Proud to be in there with you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So, you guys, it's been a long week. It's been a real long week. I was pushing hard for Julius. I met them around the same time I met you, Hakeem. They reached out with me because I think I had started following you, and that's how I connected with them, the Justice for Julius group. And, she gave me a lot of helpful tips and stuff to use online, as you sat with me and gave me a lot of good things to use. And so I really was, felt a connection, to Julius from that. And I'm so glad that he wasn't executed, but I don't know, he didn't want to be, have life without the possibility. He didn't want that. So, and although it's, I've been hearing people say, well, we still get the fight, but, I'm just sad about that, especially after today's verdict. It's just another slap in the face to justice for us.
It is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Attorney Hugo Mack.
Well, there are a lot of things that, are going through my mind right now. First of all, as a criminal defense attorney, I believe in highlighting you must prove a person guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. Okay? I've built my whole life on defending people in court by demanding the state meet that burden on each and every element of each and every offense. Okay. So I have to believe, or else I wouldn't be able to do this job, that unless the state can prove each and every element of each and every offense beyond a reasonable doubt, 4 out of 5 is not good enough, then the jury must acquit. They must acquit. And so while I am heartbroken in this verdict, I'm heartbroken because I know for a fact, as a father, if anyone, even my daughter, had gone with an AR-15 rifle, leaving the state of Michigan to go to Wisconsin to talk about they're going to go there to protect some people who ain't never asked for your help, by the way,
Right.
All right, and circumvent the police walking down the street, they would have been detained, if not shot, immediately. Immediately. All right. It wouldn't have been about a Second Amendment right. It would have been if this person had a gun. It was visible. We were fearful for our life. They came walking towards us. We did not have time to respond in any way but into protecting ourselves. Okay. That's a scenario that would have been played out. I would remind you of a man by the name of Walter Scott, where a police officer said after a routine traffic stop, the man accosted him, was trying to harm him, and he had to shoot him. But what that officer did not know was that somebody was standing in the bushes, and God always has a ram in the bush. He always has a ram in the bush with a video recorder, a phone, showing this man was fleeing from this officer, and the man still shot the man in the back and killed him. Still shot him in the back and killed him. So what I'm saying is that what I'm heartbroken as a black man and a father, because I know my kids would not have been given the benefit of the doubt. They would not have been given the benefit of the doubt if that had been them. So that is a racial injustice that has happened, because while I will defend the Constitution and the right to a trial and presumption of innocence and all that, I know good and well as a black man that law would not have been applied fairly to me or my kids. So, you know, I'm torn and I'm hurt. You know, I am very hurt.
Yeah. Reverend Tia?
You know, I I have so many emotions right now going through me this week. I've had to kind of desensitize myself in the evenings before I would go to bed and meditate and try to feel something different, you know, because what is just not mind boggling, but it's just absolutely insane is that it's a consciousness. This is a consciousness. This is a mindset. This is a habitual way of thinking that has gone for more than 400 years of thinking irrationally, of having a mindset that is absolutely insane. It's just insane. Like, for real? Like, really? And then this is what gets me. And this is why this is not satisfying to me. And I will not be satisfied. I'm not satisfied. And we should not be satisfied.
Right.
I'm not just satisfied because you decided that, well, we're not going to execute him, but this is what we're going to do. And you all the way wrong? And you're all the way wrong. I'm sorry. I'm so beyond pushing papers now. We have been pushing papers for more than 400 years trying to get laws passed and laws get rewritten and then amendments and all of this. Just do what's right. So we're supposed to back down now and say, well, at least he's living, but he still got to stay there, even though has all the compelling information saying that he's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to try to act like, well, this is what we're doing for you. Because we're supposed to be so used to the crumbs. I'm not used to the crumbs anymore.
And J Love, if I can add in here to what Reverend T is saying, excuse me if I'm going out of turn, but
no, you're fine.
You're good.
With that quote unquote commutation, all right, that governor made it real clear.
Yeah.
There is no more commutation. There is no more reduction. There is no more leniency. I mean, read that order carefully.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Carefully.
Yes.
He said, "This is it."
You're right.
So I'm not even sure, other than and perhaps an order from a court, which takes out the executive hands, you know, where the man is vindicated. Okay, I can see that. But any kind of thing, well, let's wait a couple years and you know shoot back at the governor again and maybe get him out or whatever. That's not going to happen. So the court
pretty much gave him another death sentence.
Yeah,
of course he did. Of course he did. And Oklahoma's never been the kind of state
right.
not only dealing with its racism in terms of black people, but Native Americans. People don't understand. Oklahoma's been hell on Native Americans, hell on Native Americans. Okay, so what I'm saying is that unless there's a legislative action, which I doubt, or perhaps a court action in terms of like Brother Keem talking about the Innocence Project working something along that line with a prosecutor that's willing to say, hey, you know what? Let's take another look at this. That I saw that Mr. Jones' mom crying and happy. I'm happy for her because her son is still breathing, but he's going to be breathing inside a penitentiary.
Right.
Yeah, this situation also reminds me of my own predicament, right? Because as I said, I was sitting in prison with a 45-year sentence as an 18-year-old kid in 1991. And by the time I got my release as 33 years old, I was told I was going to get released on parole, right? And so that's essentially the same scenario that this situation is. Mm-hmm. And then when I get out on parole, I'm told that I must finish my sentence on parole. My angel had a 45-year sentence. I served 15 years. So I was told I had to do 30 years on parole. And they've been living up to that because I've been on parole for 15 years, having to report every single month, right? Without reprieve, period. You know, so it's the same scenario. So I'm still fighting to get discharged from parole as much as now he's fighting to then get freed from prison, whereas he was fighting before to get freed from death.
Right.
I mean, the inconsistencies. I mean, this whole week has been a total display of the inconsistencies in sentencing.
Yeah.
That's so prevalent, you know?
Yes.
And then what rationale do you have? What rationale do you have for the difference that you have in sentencing? You know, it's like people must continue to show the horrific display and insanity of this mind. Stop, you know, and I tell people, stop trying to diagnose the people who are underserved. Start diagnosing the mind of the oppressor. Why are you crazy as hell? How about that?
Right.
This week has been just awful for me. It's just.
Yes, because look, not guilty. Who gets to sit with the judge and pick out the
Lord.
Attorney Hugo Mack? Who gets to do that?
Unprecedented. You know, in my 40 some odd years in this profession, in and out the penitentiary, I might add, I have never ever seen a person coddled and babied as that. You are picking yourself from a wheel. It's like you on what, Jeopardy or bingo? What the hell, to quote Sam Riddle? What the hell? And all the telegraphing that is sending to the jury. When this judge eviscerates the prosecutor, I'm gonna tell you what, I've been eviscerated so many times. I got so much scars, I don't even feel them when I get cut no more. Okay, so what I'm saying is I've been eviscerated so many times by judges all over Washington County for standing up for the rights of black, poor, with whites too, you know, indigenous peoples, that I'm used to the prosecutor getting the favor of the judge. But seeing the prosecutor being jumped on by the judge, seeing the judge dismiss charges in front of the jury, seeing this man being able to pick like he's picking the winning lottery numbers, you know, on the mega ball, all that sends clear messages. This judge saying you cannot refer to the people that were shot and hurt as victims. This judge allowing the people that were there with the Black Lives Matter protest as rioters and looters. Oh my God. Oh dear God. But you see, that is the injustice that we are facing. That judge telegraphed to that jury where he was coming from. All right. And by the way, I think the reason it took 4 days, there was at least one brave soul who was saying, wait a minute, this don't seem right. this is not a not guilty case. That man had no business coming there. One brave soul. It might have been the black guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, or the black, I don't know. But them people, see, normally, it's a legitimate debate about guilt or not guilt. Okay. I think this was a lopsided debate in that jury room, and hopefully somebody brave enough. I think they went in not guilty. And I think somebody was holding out for saying, how is he not guilty? The man brought a gun across state lines. The man shot. You know, you say you're going to shoot a man. Or remember now, 3 people were shot. One man had his arm blown off. He said, well, he was reaching for my gun. One man was killed because he said, well, he's trying to hit me with a skateboard. A skateboard is no match for an AR-15. Okay. So, you know, if you got a 357 Magnum in your hand and I'm approaching you with a butter spoon, okay, see, that doesn't give you the right to kill me. All right. And then the third man that was killed said, well, he had a gun. Well, we don't know if Rittenhouse was firing off at these people beforehand. See, we don't know that. There was some reason they were pursuing him. They weren't just doing that out of random. Something has happened, and the judge never let all that come in.
Yeah, and he shot, one of them got shot in the head. One of the people he killed, he shot him in the head.
Yeah, so, you know, and I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize. I'm through for now.
No, you good. And then this guy right here, the other guy up there, the judge gives him 8 years probation after he has raped 4 other girls.
I can't.
He said he had to go and pray and sleep over it.
He needs to continue to pray and sleep. That's what he needs to do.
And his prayers came up with
that's what he came up with.
Instead of giving him 8 years in prison, he gave him 8 years probation. What?
There is no rationale.
See, that's privilege of both wealth and whiteness.
Yeah.
And no accountability.
Hey, look, can I ask a brother a question? Hey, brother, you was there in like Wisconsin area, right? In like what, Milwaukee area? Okay. What you think would happen to you if you was walking? I don't know if you ever been to Kenosha or not. I don't know. What you think would happen to you if you was walking at nighttime with an AR-15 walking down the middle of the street, brother? What you think would happen to you?
Absolutely. I'd have definitely been detained, killed, incarcerated under the penitentiary or worse. You know, one thing about the state of Wisconsin is that the state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, as well as Madison, Dane County, they both have 2 of the highest incarceration rates in the country for African Americans.
Yeah.
You know, Milwaukee has been cited as to being one of the most racist cities in the nation, right? One of the most segregated cities in the nation. They have a long history of racism. There's no wonder why, for example, when you think of an organization like the Nation of Islam, their mosque number 1 is in Detroit, but their mosque number 2 is in Milwaukee, right? So that goes to show you why it was needed to have a headquarters of an organization of that nature that was focused on, you know, Black beauty, Black awareness, you know, Black self-esteem, and they use a religious vein to do so. But Milwaukee being the center of the second site is crucial to understand the history of a city in a state like Wisconsin.
I'm laughing at Charity's comment. She said that's because he was praying to the wrong Jesus, the white Jesus that doesn't exist, just like how white supremacists twist the Bible to oppress. You're right, Charity. He was not. Then we look at this, guilty. That's Julius up at the top. Trayvon. He was guilty, you know, because he was walking through from the store. Devontae Sanford, 14 years old. Tamir Rice. This, when they see this, they see guilt. Innocent. Guilt. When they see this, they see guilt. Someone's innocent. Somebody guilt. When they see this, they see guilt. Somebody's innocent. Somebody guilt. When they see this, they see guilt. Okay, I don't know whose speaker was going off, but I mean, somebody have on an Esther device. But anywho, back to what I was saying. Julius death row for what, 20 years, over 20 years. I mean, it's amazing. I don't. Reverend Tia, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's disheartening because I'm like, people, we got to wake up. First of all, we have to safeguard our children. We have to safeguard our children. And that means our safeguard has to begin when they are younger and give them the truth about things. Let them know the truth, but also, we got to protect. We have to protect. Yeah. We have to protect them against so many issues of being labeled. We have to make sure, I woke my children up every day. We would have affirmations because that's what my dad did with me. And you affirmed who you were every single day. Before you went out that door, you had to know who you were, whose you were, and the power that you had before you left. So we said, I am a dynamic, awesome, and successful spiritual, social, mental, emotional, physical, and financial giant. And I wasn't, I was 5. Mm-hmm. So we have to empower our children and then empower them to the point where you don't want to just filtrate and just blend in with everybody and do what everybody else is doing, because you will be treated differently.
Right.
You're going to be treated differently. And we have to know, we have to send a message. A message has got to be sent in America that, okay, we had enough of this. Mm-hmm. We should not be trying to convince people that what you're doing is wrong when it's blatant. Switch it up. Mm-hmm. How about you? We do you. Would you like that? I'm still praying. Pray for me.
I know, Reverend Tia, we are a work in process. But you can't hear what you won't reveal. So we have to have these conversations. We have to say we're mad. Mm-hmm. We can't keep walking around here acting like it's okay. I'm mad about it. I'm angry about it.
Yeah.
Because once you start expressing that, now you can open yourself up for solutions. Mm-hmm. But we can't just keep on walking around here acting like, I was posting about Julius. I'm like, okay, today is the day he gets his last meal. What are you doing? Right. I'm saying? We got to get, even ourselves, the human connection and what's going on. Like, we don't think this can happen to you, mm-hmm. to us. But Hakeem knows that it can happen to anybody. Attorney Hugo Matt knows that it can happen. I know, Reverend Tia, that this stuff can happen to anybody at any time. Nobody is, especially not us, people of color, Black people. Mm-hmm. None of us are. I'm looking.
No one's exempt.
Right, exempt from a wrongful conviction.
Mm-hmm. And we got to keep showing the ugly side. Don't change the narrative to invent a lie because you don't want to tell the truth about yourself, and then you want to reinvent education so that you look good.
Right.
No, tell the whole truth. See, if we told the whole truth about all of history, people would be empowered. Especially African American people would be empowered. Why? Because y'all came from us. At least we theorized that. Hello?
Right.
You still a theory.
Right.
I know me. I know my heritage. I know that my people were first on this planet called Earth. And I know that we touched every single continent. How about that?
Right.
Now, if my history only begins with slavery, then I'm disempowered.
Right.
I'm disempowered. My godson called me from Dubai and he said, Auntie, he said, they think that We just surrendered and allowed them to take us captive. I said, well, that's a lie. You know, and he had to he was teaching his teachers in Dubai. So we got to make sure that when we safeguard our children, tell the truth. And if you don't know, find out.
Mm-hmm.
Seek to know yourself. I mean, the best kind of power is knowledge of yourself.
Exactly.
You know, get it. We can't allow people to tell us the narrative that we are going to say. And that's why so many children now wake up and they already think they're guilty.
Right. Because they believe the narrative.
Yeah.
So if you keep hearing the same story over and over again, you start to believe that story. And then you start living that lifestyle. Next thing you know, you caught up in a system that don't want to let you go. It's eating us alive, people. Mm-hmm. Hakeem?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes me think about one of the most important things about valuing your freedom and fighting for it. As Reverend Tia was just saying, you know, we can't just continue to accept this second classness, like in Julius, right? We can't just accept him with life in prison without the possibility of parole. We can't accept that. And so for me, likewise, I recall about 2-3 years after being freed from prison, you know, I was growing increasingly, you know, angry about still being on parole, still having to report, still unacceptable, you know. And my mother and other people around me would try to calm me down and essentially, you know, be like, just be happy you out. And that wasn't an acceptable position for me at the time, you know, and it still isn't, and it will never be. And I understood from my mother's point of view as a mother who was just trying to get her baby home. She would just want her baby home. And after she fought all those years to get her baby home, she was like, baby, you home. Just relax, enjoy being free. But I couldn't enjoy it. I still can't enjoy it, right? Until I'm free. So until we as a people are free, none of us should be feeling safe. None of us should be feeling at ease, right? When we walk down the street and we know that a Black child, right, male or female, can be accosted by law enforcement simply for the color of their skin and questioned and treated as a suspect. When pulled over in a vehicle, the first thing officers generally want to do is make individuals get out of vehicles to secure themselves, make themselves feel like they need protection. You know, they increase the intensity of the possibility of violence and conflict between themselves and citizens because of the way in which they approach us. So they've broken that barrier, because when we think about law enforcement all the way back to slavery, when they were slave patrols, no slave patrolman ever came up to a slave and said, hey, how are you doing today? You have your freedom papers? You know, you have your emancipation papers? And they never pull up like that. They pull up with a gun firing on them right away. Put your hands up, and without most likely try to kill us and shot us in the back. Right? It's the same strategy today. And we have to be willing to fight. We have to be. Otherwise, the civil rights movement of 40 years ago, 50 years ago, not only are we repeating it, but we'll be repeating it again in 40 years, the next generation for the next generation.
Yes. I was just listening to a video today, and it was breaking it down how the laws and how it is not meant for us, for black people. And it was saying, like, in the 1960s, the late 60s, there was only like maybe 200,000 people incarcerated in the United States. And then in the 80s, the war on drugs, I was listening to that, came before crack. Came before the whole crack, you know, when people were totally cracked out. The war on drugs happened first. So they was already setting it up. And about time the end of the 80s, it was over 1.5 million people or something in prison. That's like 20 years, you know, difference. I'm like, this is all a setup. And so when you see the the Kyle Rittenhouses and of the world, and then we look at how justice is for us, we see the two the two different systems. Unfortunately, other people, don't. Attorney Hugo Matt, your mic is not on. Uh-oh.
And I'll tell you why. In this Rittenhouse case, this man had a $2 million bond. $2 million bond, all right, that was posted by people supporting him, sending money in to him, all right. This man's mother had over a $500,000 given to her to support that defense of her son, okay. And I'm not trying to take away a mother's love for her son. I'm not doing that. But it's not about a mother's love for a son. This is about justice, okay. And so what I'm saying is this. I want you all to understand something. I know I'm probably maybe telling something you all know. These people had so much money, so much money. They had two independent mock juries, one with Rittenhouse testifying and one with Rittenhouse not testifying. And the result of that mock jury survey they did when those two different juries was that their case was greatly increased by Rittenhouse testifying and getting up there crying like a newborn baby. See, that's what that money bought for him. As a public defender for 12 years, as in private practice all these years after, none of my clients have ever had the money to allow me to conduct mock jury trials. None of my clients have ever had the money independently for me to get an independent forensic expert, a blood serum, expert, a fingerprint expert. I had to go and beg my boss, who had to go and beg the county to get some money for these things. So, to even try to do it, and most of those were denied. So really what it came down to was whatever skill God gave me against the judge, the prosecutor, the police, the racist jury, okay, and a crime lab. And I'm gonna say this: be very leery of any crime lab technician that is testifying, because they work for the state. They've got the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, which is vaunted as perhaps the most sophisticated crime lab in the state, and it may be. But what I'm saying is, just like with Detroit, remember all the problem they had with the corruption with the crime labs in Detroit? Remember all that? All the innocent people got railroaded because of corrupt technicians and stuff. What makes you think that same thing can happen in the state police crime lab? You see? So, money talks, brother and sisters, and money is something that Black folks have been short of for over 400 years.
Wow. Reverend Tia, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have to continue to show the ugly. We've got to keep putting it in their face. We have to keep calling them out. We have to show them the insanity of the oppressor. We have to call them crazy. We have to continue to show medically, pull out research. We need to do some research. We need to research them. We need to show how diagnosis needs to be given, and you should not only have a firing arm, but you should not also be able to have a driver's license, because that's just how insane you are. For anybody in leadership, you are not doing your civic duty. If you are in a leadership position that is supposed to serve, you are not doing your civic duty. And I am not the one to say that in the by and by, we're going to get our just reward. I'm not the one to say that in the by and by, they're going to have justice. They're going to go to hell. No, no, I want hell for them now. I want to take away whatever. I want the script to flip. And I want justice now. I don't want justice in the hereafter. Justice that's not justice.
Right.
And that has been a narrative that has been passed down from generation to generation, and it is a lie.
Tia, you saying the by and by.
I'm so tired of it.
Tia, Hakeem, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she's absolutely right, and Until we get to that level of thought, of both passion and will, right? We're going to be in this position and predicament we're in right now. And the predicament and position we in, at least in my community, and I'm sure in your communities as well, I got kids, 16 years old, getting hit with stray bullets from other kids just shooting recklessly out of cars at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got kids that can't even go to certain neighborhoods because their so-called ops lives near there. And I respond to this and say, your opposition, do you really know who's opposing you in your life right now? Do you understand the dynamics of what is up against you? That's opposing you in your life, opposing your growth, opposing your future. Do you know who your real ops are? And of course, our children just simply don't know, because at this young adolescent stage in their life, they're caught up in what has been created for us through the Willie Lynch syndrome, that Black people would ultimately begin harming themselves, killing themselves, and making themselves self-refueling cycles to be enter the prison system and ultimately into the grave site. So we've been continuously living out that Willie Lynch psychosis in which we hate each other, despise each other. So as a young child growing up, when I see another young Black man, I think he's my enemy, and I call him my ops, my opponent, the one who I perceive to be attempting to stop me from living and growing in this. Absolutely no way that's possible, right? That's not the reality, in spite of the fact that young kids are out here beefing with each other. But that in itself is a psychosis that is produced by something external. It's not from them. So we have to learn how to fight and educate our children about who our real enemies are, who our real opponents are, because for far too long, too many of us think that our enemies are our friends and our friends are our enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to take our communities back. We got to take our communities back. It's not acceptable anymore. You know, and people who are harming the community, you know, you need to know you're really not in the community. You are a wolf in sheep's clothing too. You are on the side with the oppressor if you oppress the community. You know, so if you're not trying to grow in knowledge of who you are, if you're not trying to give back, if you're not trying to safeguard the community, if you're not trying to educate and uplift and elevate, then you are a threat to the community, and you need to leave. You need to leave and be gone with yourself. We need to safeguard and create new communities based upon a new narrative. Go ahead. Oh, you go, Mac. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Look, I'm just passionate, and I don't mean to jump in on anybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was done.
Well, and you know, and the thing of it is this: people can criticize whoever they want, criticism of the Nation of Islam and these sort of things. But I tell you what, I remember some programs they were running where they would not allow you to come in to a Black community with drugs, with gambling, with prostitution. Okay, you see what I'm saying? They would not allow that to happen. And it seems to me, and I'm 67, I got a lot to learn, but it seems to me other communities are revered for having a code of conduct where you cannot harm them. Okay, stereotypes can be dangerous, but I have a lot of people of the Jewish religion. All right, they have strict code of conduct. All right, you cannot come in their community where they are bringing drugs, gambling, prostitution, vice up in there. Okay, a lot of people from Italian ancestry, and some of it is notorious, but you know, a code of conduct, you don't come into our community bringing that crap here. They will take you out quite simply and unashamedly. And see, people know that, so they respect their communities. But as the brother said, we've been so Willie Lynched. It's like anything you want to do that you want to do bad, go to Detroit. If you want to live in Farmington Hills, you got not just a trunk full of trash, you have a dump truck full of trash. Go into Wayne County, one of them vacant lots in that 139 square mile area known as Detroit, unload that dump truck over on the street and go on about your business. You wouldn't dare go to Dearborn, and drop a napkin on the ground. Okay, you see? So, and the thing of it is this. I agree with what the brother said. We get so busy hating ourselves. I used to debate on a weekly basis. There was a black preacher in Ann Arbor that had a show that came on Saturdays called the Freedom Table or Joshua's Table or whatever that is. These are those black ultra conservatives who hate themselves so much they will refer to Trayvon Martin. Yeah, Saint Trayvon. He had THC in his system. And I had to call and confront that brother. I said, brother, who really taught you to hate yourself so much? Here you are, blacker than a mailbox, and you have the nerve to talk about Saint Trayvon like that man, that young boy was somehow guilty because he came from a quote unquote broken home, as did Gerald Ford, by the way. Okay. Came from a broken home and had THC in his system that he deserved to be murdered. So, I got to be honest. I fight self-hate in my community all the time, trying to educate particularly these young brothers who don't want to listen, who either got their manhood at the end of a leash with a pit bull or, a stolen gun in their waistband. And, there we are.
Tamika Mallory was talking about that yesterday. I got a clip from her on the show, but she was talking about, they were on their way to the prison, and a lot of other people who had been advocating for Julius, and they had to fight the people, the black people who was there was asking, why you here? What y'all here to do? We don't need, and it's like, hey, we're here for the same reason you are here. We have to fight each other when it comes to helping each other or whatever, instead of just doing what we need to do, come together. It took people from around the world, not only just here in America, but all over the world, so he can get life without parole. So, we don't have the time or the energy to be fighting each other, because we have a machine that is chopping us up
on every level.
Right.
On every level.
I want you to be distracted by fighting each other. That's the distract. It keeps you in the cycle, like Hakeem was talking about. Keeps you stuck in the cycle. You can't even see what's coming next. And then I have another mother or another family member on here a year from now talking about, a wrongful conviction, a story or something that we could see that shouldn't have happened.
Let me share this perspective.
Yeah.
One of the crucial things we have to understand as a people about why, in fact, we aren't unified is that we have to understand that we don't have our own economic independence. As a result of that, our entire livelihood is dependent upon white systems that we work within, whether it be retail, social work, criminal justice, factory, manufacturing, wherever we work at, our total lives to us to feed ourselves, to feed our families is reliant upon a white system. And therefore, we can't necessarily be critical of white people, critical of white systems, allying with people like me that's critical of white systems, because then they have to go to work with their white supervisors and white bosses and white CEOs whom will identify them as being associated with some form of black racism. Those revolutionaries, those people that are kicking up good trouble, so to speak, right? So you have to understand that we are in a vulnerable position. So oftentimes when we look at our people as being sellouts, it's not that they're total sellouts. It's that they don't have any economic stronghold to be independent, to say, I stand up to you white folks. See, for me, since I've been out of prison all these years, my income hasn't been dependent upon white people. So I've always been able to say what I wanted to say because I wasn't dependent upon a check from a white person. See, that makes a big difference. When our community is totally dependent upon their livelihood and their families to be fed from a white system, they can't be too critical. They have to be very cautious. And we have to figure out a way to break that mold that keeps us second-class citizens.
what he said right there. What he said right there. And that's why developing community is so important. Developing community, finding other ways of doing things. I think now is the time. I think that we are being pressed to have some type of ingenuity, and to be able to, how do we care for our families without intervention? And we got to look at that. How do we pull together? Do we have it to do it? Yes, we do. But if we constantly are looking outside of ourselves, we'll never find the answer. The answer will always be within. And we have to start with us.
Right.
And then we don't have to broadcast it. We don't have to tell. When other communities get together on what they're going to do and how they're going to save and buy land and put this aside and come together and have a way of living, their own ma'at laws that every law has been based upon. When we come up with something like that, other communities aren't saying, "Oh, this is what we're doing over here. Look at what we're doing." No. No. And see, we've been so bamboozled now. Many of us want to highlight everything on social media and get feedback from everybody all the time. How about we don't care anymore? How about put your money where your mouth is? A man or a woman's treasure is wherever the money is going. Where is it going? If it's just going to hair and eyelashes and shoes and clothing and purses, okay, there you go. All right, I'll be on that for a minute.
Unless we're selling the hair, the eyelashes, and all of that. Unless we're putting that money back into our community, because that's $1 trillion industry in itself. The hair and beauty industry.
$1 trillion for us.
Right.
That we pay.
Right.
To somebody else.
Right.
Somebody else's hair.
Right.
I'm so over it.
Right. So I want to go on to an Attorney Hugo Matt, and maybe you can explain to us what happened with this. But I wanted to touch on the exonerees from the Malcolm X case. This was like 55 years.
Oh,
that's right. Right. And J Love, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to try to ask our leader, could we talk about that for a minute? And so when I look at Akeem, I look at myself, I look at you, I look at Reverend Tia and the other people that have never stopped the fight, and see, the thing of it is, for me, I've set in my heart and my spirit, not only for me, but for other people, we never going to stop the fight, you see? And my thing is this. The only two ways, for me, I just talk about myself personally, that my fight is ever going to stop is, one, if the Holy Spirit tell me to stop, which he has not, or if the Lord say, "Hey, Hugo, I'm calling you home right now. I got something else for you to do." Okay. So one of those things going to have to happen for me to stop. Okay. And neither of those things has happened yet. So when I look at the situation with Malcolm X, you got to understand now, these men were sentenced to like 20 and 22-year sentences. I think one was a 20-year sentence, one was a 22-year sentence. They served that time. You remember that. Now, they were convicted in 1966 because, Malcolm X was assassinated February 21st, 1965 at the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan. Okay. So what happened is those men there served that time. One of those men died in 2009. See, so with that man that died in 2009, he's like the Hebrews who stayed in slavery for 400 years. Them people was conceived in slavery, they was born in slavery, they lived in slavery, and they died in slavery. They never got a chance to see vindication as you and I count vindication, but their vindication would come at another point in time in evolution, history, and life. So what I'm saying is, I tip my hat to Cyrus Vance Jr., the DA in Manhattan. And by the way, there was a documentary maybe last year about who killed Malcolm X.
Yeah, that brought up a lot of questions.
Yeah,
it's on
yeah.
Netflix.
It did. And so, activists, those people were activists that made that documentary. So now the thing of it is, over half a century later, people are vindicated when, if there had not been prosecutorial misconduct, if the prosecutor had not been tainting witnesses and telling people what to say. I heard there were at least 6 police informants in the ballroom when Malcolm X got shot and killed, and none of them were brought forth to testify. These are informants working for the government. So if you can't trust the government, who says they're supposed to be fighting for you, I mean, these were in essence police officers, really what they were. They were in essence police officers. Didn't come forth to vindicate these men. They did nothing of the kind. But thank God to justice, and still keep fighting. So the man that I believe is still surviving, at least he's got his life now to know what people know the truth, and the family of the man that's deceased, they know the truth, So
he said, I always knew the truth, not everybody else know. But he said,
right. Right. No, and J Love, you raised a very good point, because both those men said from the get-go, I wasn't even there.
Right.
Some Akeem can relate to. You gonna put me in something, brother, I wasn't even there.
Right. The one that was still living, he was in the hospital, or he was in, I think he was either in the hospital or leaving. He was not there physically at all.
Right.
I'm not impressed anymore.
I'm
not satisfied and impressed anymore when they decide years later to change the verdict to something that is true. Because these people, they already knew the truth.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, so what? So what? You decide, and then who's held accountable for your mistake?
Nobody.
Right.
Who's held accountable because you decided to do this that way?
Right.
I'm not satisfied. I'm never going to be satisfied with this. Never.
Correct.
And this is the consciousness of America that is not, I'm never going to be satisfied with it. Somebody needs to pay. Somebody needs to be held accountable. They always wait years later and then want to turn something over and then tell the truth and then sing Kumbaya. I'm not singing Kumbaya anymore.
Right. And I want to say this. In the state of Michigan, they passed legislation where, for wrongfully convicted people in the penitentiary, up to I think $50,000 a year. I don't know if it's the whole time you're in the penitentiary or 10 years or whatever that is. You see, that's buying off with like 30 pieces of silver. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You've destroyed a man or woman's life, and you think you can ease your conscience and make wrong right by giving somebody some money, which is a materialistic thing. Right. Akeem can tell you what it's like to be in a prison for 15 years and still be in a prison, because he'll tell you, like I'll tell you, parole is prison without the wall. You see what I'm saying? It is. So when I'm looking at Akeem right now, I'm looking at a man that's in prison. That man is in prison, whether y'all know it or not. Okay. So what I'm saying is, in the 10 years that I spent and 2 years on parole, 12 years in prison, you don't have any amount of money that can restore the 10 years that I missed from my mother, who's gone on to be with the Lord. You don't have enough money to restore 10 years with my brother, the only brother I ever had, my big brother, my hero, that's gone on to be with the Lord. You can't pay me for that. Even with your life, you can't pay me for that. That's how big that debt is. I have to call on the supreme being that I worship through Jesus Christ. He's the only one that can help me. Y'all can't help me. And the demons that did this to me, Akeem, to J Love's son, to people at TNO, only God can restore us. Man can't do it. He can't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How many people like myself and Gerard and others that have gone to prison and haven't gotten vindicated and had to come out here and deal with life with that X on their back for the rest of our lives, you know, without ever really being vindicated. You know, how many people are out here like that? We'll never even know.
Right.
And so many people injustice has happened to, you know, and that's why we got to crush the system. That's why we have to boldly stand up to prosecutors. And like I did with our prosecutor, Jerry Jarzinka, right here in Jackson, I called him to his face a criminal. I said, you and the prosecutors in your office, you are all criminals. You have committed crimes against our community through the biased prosecution, through the racist prosecution, through the using of evidence from police officers that has been corrupt and not verified, that has been lied, right? They fabricate so many false reports that police officers do all the time that the prosecutors who use this evidence and prosecute by biasness, they are criminal. And we need to hold them criminally liable, at least in the court of public opinion. And we need to treat them as such and stop coming to meetings like I do. I attend meetings with all of our community representatives because I'm on every council and committee you can think of. And we sit next to him and other criminals like him and have respect for him and his position in our community, whereas he's a criminal, harming and persecuting and maintaining harm to our community and trauma. We should be looking at him saying, how dare you come sit next to me in this meeting? You need to be running up out of here, resigning from being a part of anything that got anything to do with representing the people of this community. And we don't treat them like that, though. We want to be too nice.
Right.
Too nice. I ain't got time to play.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't be their friends and they killers. You know, they murdering us. And we still want to be their friend. No, you can't be my friend.
That's a mighty work, Hakeem, because, you know, my family's from Jackson and my father was born and raised there. And he left up out of there because of that and would refuse to raise the family there, you know, and I go back home, you know, I go there quite frequently. But, you know, there was a difference. There's definitely a difference. There was a time we needed to be in the house and not be out walking to the corner, to the store, things like that. And it's important, you know, in the boldness that happens because of privilege. There's a boldness that says, yeah, I can do this to you and still sit next to you, and you still have to respect me.
That's right. That's right. Right.
And then when we lose our mind and we trying to choke somebody out, then they say, oh, she crazy. I might be.
After what we've been through, I mean, right? What we've been through. It's traumatizing, like I talk about in the employment sector, for example. We know as Black people how traumatizing it is going to work every day in a white system, a white institution, fearing that these white folks got it out for us every single day. No, we got to tiptoe through here to make sure we don't get fired because we know that we're the quickest to get fired, the last to get hired, right? And the least to get paid. Right. This is a fundamental reality. And that impacts the way we live our lives. Our children are raised up knowing that we go off to work and come home for work in a state of trauma. They know that. They sense it and feel it. And they're raised within it generation after generation. And then they experience it.
Yeah.
I want to play because this really, I was watching a video of Tamika, a live video. And I really want to play this video where she talks about how death row prisoners are treated. Because I think we really need to, you know, it's one thing to just hear it, but we need to know how that feels because we're so disconnected. That's why we're having these conversations like this every day, because we're so disconnected. Okay, so I thought I saw Trisha. Is that you, Trisha? Okay, I thought I saw you. I thought I saw you earlier. So let me bring Trisha, but I want to play this, you guys.
Sure, after listening to Governor Stitt's daughter last night say, me and my dad are not really speaking right now, but I told him that Julius Jones should not die. I can only imagine that there were other people in his family, his pastor maybe, and other people close to him that said the same thing. And whatever it was that moved his heart, whatever it was, I'm grateful for it. But I know Julius Jones said, if you're gonna keep me in jail for the rest of my life, kill me. That's what he said. And so, thank God for a victory. We can breathe, but you know, Julius, this is just and just to think that for the last probably 10 hours or so, this man was strapped down. This is what the death penalty does. His body was strapped down, all the way down, his whole body, for all of these hours. Whole body strapped down. He couldn't move. And they said if his heart stopped, who was that was saying? It was in the law.
That is a law.
Somebody pulled out the law in Oklahoma says that if for some reason his heart stopped, he experienced, a heart attack, they would revive him and then execute him. That's the law. Been strapped down, and if you were strapped down and he has some type of attack, claustrophobic attack, or mental breakdown or whatever it is, and he died, they will revive you and execute you because you gotta die by the state killing you. It's too much. It's way too much. It's way too much.
It's too much. Trisha, we haven't heard from you. Hi, welcome.
I think that was probably a good thing. I'm how do I say this? Because I'm sitting here in Children's Hospital and I can't get loud in the lobby, right? But I think today for me was a lesson that we keep doing the same thing, we're going to get the same results. Why can't we try something new? People be like, oh, chess, not checkers. Oh, you got to have strategy. Okay, we've been playing chess, not checkers. We've been having strategy. Now what? It still ain't got us nowhere. I can't say nowhere, but not where we need to be. So for me, it's like, I don't know, y'all. I tell you, there's really no words. I'm trying to find the words, and I knew it was going to happen. So it's not. I mean, the judge basically made sure that it happened. So I'm not shocked, but sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of those of us who keep. I'm talking about us. Those of us who keep playing with them. Those of us who keep licking boots. Those of us who just keep putting their own people's neck on the chopping block. I'm sick of it. And for what? Because it ain't got you nowhere either. Because at the end of the day, they're going to always come back and remind you that you Black. I dare you to step out of line. You be out just like the next man. So your best bet was to be to jump on board with your people and fight this fight the right way. Because what we've been doing, obviously it ain't working because they still don't care about us.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson wasn't playing. Michael Jackson tried to tell us we was dancing around. They don't really care about it. We was just dancing and popping all around. But no, like that was real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Reverend T.
Yeah, it was so heartbreaking to see that again. Because it's so inhumane. It's like, are you really a monster? You can't be human and write that kind of a law. That can't even, you can't be human at all. What are you?
Right.
What are you to write something like that's insane?
They're going to revive you.
And then revive so we can kill you because you're the real killers? Because you're the real monsters? That's a monster mind. That's a monster mind. It's savage.
Mm-hmm.
It is inhumane. You are not human. Can't be. You cannot be human and want to kill.
Right? You can't even die in peace. They're gonna wake you up and re-kill you.
That's insane.
And this is the law.
And then strap you down. No, where are you gonna go?
Right.
You know, that's why the whole thing needs to come down. Every stone that has been built up upon racism and upon injustice is coming down. It's coming down. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how, but it's got to come down. It's got to come down because it is insane. And we're not the only ones. African Americans are not the only one, but there's more with us, I believe, than against us. And I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep saying it, that there are more with us. And that's what's scaring the hell out of everybody, because they are afraid that too many people are seeing the ugliness that has happened for more than 400 years.
Right.
And even longer than that, because that's how you built this country, was through plundering, rape, destruction, and killing.
Right.
And that is not the way. And if you have not evolved yet as a human being, to evolve in a human way where you have compassion for everybody, then you are not connected. Something in your psyche is wrong. Something is off, and you need the help.
Right. Go ahead.
Look, I'm gonna say one last thing here. You just said something. They're scared because, see, even though I'm mad and I've got all these emotions going on, I still got hope, and other people do too. And we're not playing. Like, we still ready to fight this fight in the midst of all of this injustice. I had people reaching out to me, Shay, what are we gonna do? Are you gonna plan something? And I was thinking, for what? But then I said, no, we're gonna come together. We're gonna have a moment of community healing on Sunday at 2:30 at Riverside. We're gonna go down to the mural of Black Lives Really Matter. And we need to start doing something about all of this stuff that's going on. We can't just paint murals and think that's the end all be all. You know, we got to really, really do something radical. Now's the time for radical movements like never before.
Right. It's like radical forgiveness, radical movement. We got to get radical. We got to go against the grain. We got to think differently. Mm-hmm. We keep thinking and staying in that same thought process. We got to come elevate our thinking. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Hakeem.
Yeah, she just she just really fed me something there, because I was thinking, legacy, right? We've inherited a heck of a legacy in this country. And what is we really building for the future legacy, for the future generations, right? Because we know what the 50s and the 60s generation built and left for us, right? We know what it's been. And it might not have been all of what we wanted and all that we hoped for and prayed for, but it was something that gave us something that we needed, something to get us over a heck of a hill and a hurdle at that time. And now, we have to really figure out, how do we continue to build this movement up, right? These moments that occur, how do we continue to build these moments up to maintain a stable movement in this country that keeps us all awake, keeps us all alert, and keeps us moving forward? And it's not going to happen by simply spray painting murals on the ground. And I remember when we did our mural here in Jackson, when I was asked, by media, why did I decide to come spray paint, or put Black Lives Matter on the ground? I didn't do it to make a statement to the white community and to tell the white world that our lives matter and y'all should know this. Look what y'all been doing to us. I didn't do it for that purpose. That was not the reason. I chose a specific area in our community hardest hit in poverty, violence, miseducation, unemployment, right? I chose that community because to us, our lives must matter more to us than it could possibly matter to anybody else. Mm-hmm. And when we begin to value our lives, we will stand up in defense of Black life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Attorney Hugo Mack.
Well, I can say this, that we have never lacked people when it comes down to it to sacrifice and make that ultimate payment. You know, King, Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer, you know. And the thing of it is this. I want to encourage everybody, you know, because yeah, we want a mass movement and we need a mass movement, but each and every one of you is so important, not just to me as an encouragement to me, but the fact that you're still there. You know, you still there. This brother Akeem, he's proven for 30 some odd years. That man is still here, y'all. He's still standing. Trichet still standing. And I mean, and I know some of the scurrilous, vicious things they done try to do against that sister, you know, which is why I respect her. You know, Reverend Tia, you know, you standing up. J Love. So, you know, we still here. I mean, and I know we get tired. I know, you know, and we try not to get weary and well doing because we will reap if we faint not, you know. So I'm just encouraged. I'm gonna say this. I'm hurt over that verdict today. Um, I, as a black man, as a father, as a grandfather, I'm hurt. I realized the man who shot Jacob Blake in the back 7 times, 7 times. I mean, in the back, you know, and have the prosecutor in Kenosha, whatever county that is, say there are no charges, none. You know, and you have a young white racist young man hanging with the Proud Boys, you know, getting millions of dollars from racist groups, shoots 3 people, white people, I might add, and that still is not enough for a conviction on nothing, nothing. So, hey, brothers and sisters, just hang in, and know that God is able, because we in a hell of a fight. I mean, we are in a hell of a fight, you know. But other generations won it, you know, and we can win it too. Yeah, we can. We have to. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, you're right, Attorney Hugo Matt. We don't have a choice, because if we don't, we're gonna be like Hakeem said earlier. We're gonna be going back fighting a fight that was fought 50 years, 60 years ago.
That's right.
So we have to, you know, even though if it looks bleak and we get tired, but we have to keep fighting, because it's set up for us to get tired and
That's right.
give up. That's how it's set up. And so it's up to us. We have to be the change first that we want to see. And then once we become the change, then we can push the change out into our communities, because, you know, earlier this year or even last year, we was talking about the George Floyd bill, you know, and policing act. And now that's just, you know, a thing of I don't know, random conversation. But we can keep fighting for that, because everything in that, I was reading over it this morning. I'm like, we need that stuff now. We need a lot of those things right now. So I'm going to ask you guys to, you know, to say something that you want to leave us. Right. Well, I'll start with you, Reverend Tia. What you want to leave us with?
You know, I wanted to just say that it's up to us. You know, and that's why I feel empowered. I feel empowered because I know that it is up to us. It's up to us safeguarding our communities and our families and really getting a standard down. You know, have an ethical way of living in your family. What's your ethics? What are your own ethics? What are you living by? What truth are you living by in your family? How are you safeguarding your children? Do you just allow teachers and people to label your child? I remember my son they tried to label him as having ADHD. He was in kindergarten. And I politely told his teacher that she did not have the authority or the medical degree to label him. And what I discovered was, because he already knew how to read and his classmates didn't, he was going around trying to teach them the phonetic sounding. And the teacher didn't take out time to see. But because I knew him, I said, read to her, please. And he did, and she was shocked. Well, I didn't know he could read. I said, well, you got a choice. Either I can send him with work to teach him and keep him occupied, or can you differentiate your whole classroom, which they're supposed to be doing. Can you teach him? And sometimes we have to look at who is teaching. Mm-hmm. Who is doing the teaching in your family? Who's doing the teaching for your children? We should be the teachers. We should be the role models. It should not be the person on TV. And we have to take our families back.
Yes.
And that's what I'm leaving. Take your families back. We are empowered. Do not disempower yourself by giving your power away and just laying down and saying, okay, America, have your way.
Thank you, Ravitia. Trisha.
If y'all don't mind, I'm going to let Pastor Mike leave with my last words. He was sitting here listening to y'all, and he had a hot, fiery thing.
Okay,
so thank y'all. All right, it's Pastor Michael Robinson.
Hey, blessings and greetings to everyone. I was overhearing the conversation, and I think at some point in time we got to change our strategy. I say that to say that I often meditate on the fact how Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting a fight, and it was effective then, but is that same fight effective now? The Bible say, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. In other words, get excited when the enemy got to come at you with different strategies, because it means that he had to switch up the game. And I believe we got to change our strategy, because they already know that we're coming with peaceful protests. I don't know what the strategy should be, but I think we got to change the way we've been doing things to get some other kind of wreckage. So that's what I believe, that we got to do something different, because if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same results. So that's really all I wanted to add.
Thank you. You're right. Yeah. That is so true, and you are so right. We have to think it's different, because they know our game plan. That's why they keep on, operating the way they're operating, because we keep doing the same thing, so they know how to counteract what we, put out. Oh, they're gonna do this again. Oh, we're gonna do this. Oh, they're gonna march again, so we're gonna do this. Oh, we have to come out with something different to get attention. Attorney Hugo Mack.
Well, I just want to say this. In my profession, I'm limited per se to the rules that have been set up. Okay. The rules of the game aren't written by me. They're written by other people. So I've got to work my craft, my trade, my God-given talent within a set of rules, and there's a punishment for me for stepping outside those rules. But what I want to say to other attorneys who might be listening, or people influencing the legal system, you only have a certain amount of days that God will allow you on this earth. See? So Peter and Paul, they paid the price. They knew what the rules were too. Paul was well off, okay, well-educated man. He knew the price for breaking the rules. And I guess I'm talking to other lawyers out there, particularly criminal defense attorneys. You know what? Go on and challenge those rules, brothers and sisters. Go on and challenge them. And remember, when you took that oath, you rose your hand to become an attorney to the privilege of practicing law in the state of Michigan. You said first and foremost, you was going to stand up for justice. That's what you said. That's what you swore to. You didn't say you was going to pander to the police. You didn't say you was going to pander for that paycheck. You didn't say you was going to pander to get invited to some picnic and have a rubber chicken with people who don't love you no way. You didn't say that. You said you was going to stand up for justice. And yeah, I'm calling out black lawyers. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. You didn't say that, okay? So I'm saying, you know, grow some heart, some integrity, some courage, you know, because it's going to be over one day, okay? And the same people you trying to impress, they won't come to your funeral, all right? They're not going to send no $500 bouquet and ring to your funeral, you know? Just like that guy Herman Cain. Remember Herman Cain? You know, sucking up to Trump and all that stuff. That brother died of COVID at a Trump rally. Trump didn't send a postcard. And so all for what? You sold your integrity out for nothing. And particularly being black people, I got news for you. Integrity is one of the few things we still got. Our own integrity. So, you know, stand up, black lawyers. You know, don't leave me out there by myself. I'm a man. I'm subject to flaws and weaknesses, but stand up there with me and stop punking out. I guess that's what I'm saying. Stop punking out.
Yeah. Thank you, Attorney Hugo Mack. Hakeem?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he spit that there. I like that. Not punking out. I'm going to read one of these pieces I wrote. It was called The Right to Remain Silent. Okay. We understand how valuable it is as black people in our community that when we come in contact with the police, we should definitely be using exercise our right to remain silent. But there is a time when we should speak up, and that time is now. So I'm going to read this piece about it. There's a right and a wrong time to speak up. But too often, we exercise our right to remain silent when living in a city whose elected officials commit political policy violence. Over 40% of our community lives in poverty, but our leaders say it's best to focus on downtown development property. Our silence has become our silent approval of gentrification that ends in our permanent removal. So there's a right and a wrong time to speak up. But too often we exercise our right to remain silent when living in a city entrenched in street violence. Without sufficient resources, livable wage employment, our kids are next in line for state prison deployment. So yeah, there's a right and a wrong time to speak up, but it's become apparent that most of us are fearful and choke up and fail to show up. Without our vote, they're not supposed to lead us. But when we remain silent, they play us, make policies that exclude us, essentially handcuff us and mace us. So yeah, there's a right and a wrong time to remain silent. But how can we when living in a city whose elected officials commit political policy violence, trapped in a community encircled by roundabout mentality? An absence of a grocery store keeps our people starving for a livable salary. But this is our day to make, we will strive to get ahead, but our children are barely eating. Turmoil surrounds our every waking moment as we each attend a city council meeting. So yeah, there's a right and a wrong time to speak up, but too often we exercise our right to remain silent and essentially give up and handcuff our potential to come up. But today, there's no better day and time than to speak up. Peace.
Amen. Wonderful. All right.
Yes.
Yes. All right. All
Yeah.
right.
On
All
that
right.
note, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for, maybe not because it's the holiday. We'll let you know. But thank you. And Pastor Mike, you might have to come back on with us again. Okay. Thank you. We appreciate you. Talk to you later, Trisha, and bye, everyone.
God bless.